Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blitz, your weekly Lorain County High School football show brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. I'm your host, Marissa McNees of the Chronicle Telegram and WEOL, joined today by my partner, Kristen Bauer, here in the Chronicle Telegram studios. And we have the first week of the high school football playoffs. To recap for you this week, 9 Lorain County teams made the postseason this year. 5 make it out. So we're just going to start right at the top with Division 1, Region 1. 2 of our Lorain County teams playing in that division. We're going to start with Lorain, the 16th seed in Division 1, Region 1, losing to the number 1 seed, St. Edward Eagles, 49-0. Just a tough season for Lorain all around, but they make the playoffs with their first win in Week 10 over Shaw. They're the 16th seed in a region that only had 17 teams, and because of the expanded postseason, they earn a playoff berth, but they lose to the number 1 seeded St. Ed's, 49-0. Again, a tough season after having not played in 2020, but a lot of learning that went on this season in Lorain, and now a lot more experience to be had after just 2 players had any level of varsity experience this year. So the Titans fall in the first round of the playoffs, as do the Elyria Pioneers, in what was just an absolutely heartbreaking loss for the Pioneers. They were the 10th seed in Region 1, losing to number 7 Cleveland Heights on the road, 29-22. Elyria with a 22-7 lead at one point in the game. Give that up. Cleveland Heights ties it up 22-22, and with just a few seconds left in the game, you're playing for overtime at this point. Elyria with the ball, just trying to run out the clock with about 13 or so seconds left, but a fumble and a scoop and score by Cleveland Heights gives them the win with seconds left on the clock, 29-22, a really heartbreaking way for the season to end for Elyria, which had found itself overcoming so much this second half of the season, playing really well in its first year in the SWC. They finished with their first winning record in 6 years, which again, we've said a number of times is a pretty big accomplishment for a program that has seen a lot of struggles recently. So a really disappointing end, but I think we haven't seen the last of the Pioneers. They've really established themselves just in their first year in the SWC, and I think this loss is only going to fuel them as they regroup this offseason and come back ready to compete in the Southwestern Conference. Moving on to Division 2, Region 6, where, of course, we often have a number of teams playing. And, of course, this year, number 2, Avon, right there at the top of that region. They beat number 15, Toledo St. Francis, 63-28. An absolutely dominating performance for the Eagles, who are right where they want to be at this point of the season. Coach Elder, he described his team Saturday morning after the game as a work in progress, which you don't often hear about Avon, but based on their couple losses earlier in the season, especially to their rival Avon Lake, there was a lot to learn and a lot to work on. And they've really grown. They've shown a lot of progression this season and are playing really, really good football. Of course, obviously at number 2 in the region, a heavy favorite. We're just behind Medina Highland, who is the number 1 seed in that region. But Avon playing really well. They beat St. Francis again at 63-28. But again, in the same region, Region 6, we mentioned their rival Avon Lake, upset by Toledo St. John's 34-13. Avon Lake, the number 5 seed, to St. John's at number 15. Just talk about a disappointment. There's not really much to say about that game for Avon Lake other than they just did not play well. Their offense never got going. They only had 1 touchdown in the game, and it was just sort of unraveled as the game went on. Weather doesn't help. It was a rainy Friday night, but just a disappointing end for Avon Lake, which was looking for really a statement, I think, in that game. They had struggled a little bit the second half of the season. They lost a couple late games in SWC play, and this was their chance as a 5 seed playing a 12 to really establish themselves going into the postseason. But the Shoremen unable to do that, so their season ends with a loss to St. John's, 34-13. Moving right along to Division 4, Region 14, it was number 5 Keystone beating number 12 Huron, 20-7 behind another stellar performance from none other than Gideon Lampron. He rushed for over 200 yards in the game, a pair of touchdowns, and he hits his 3,000 rushing yard mark for his career in that game. Just a really incredible performance, affecting the game on both sides of the ball. He's a number of tackles on defense and really just a strong performance, of course, again, from Gideon. We've said it every week this year on the Blitz, and I say it every week on the wrap-up show on WEOL, but how can you not? Every coach he's played against has said it. He's easily one of the best, if not the best player in Northeast Ohio this year, one of the best, got to be right up there with the best in the state, and he showed why again in Keystone's victory over Huron. And that's saying something for a Keystone team that has a ton of playmakers on that team. Connor Rodick, Ryan Shackelford, Christian Paddocky. These are names that you've heard us mention this season on the Blitz. You've heard me talk about them on the radio. I'm sure you've read about them in the Chronicle Telegram. These are big-time playmakers for the Wildcats, who are going to need to lean on some more of them as they continue on in the postseason. For the second year in a row, they win the first round, but they want to keep pushing after last year's disappointing exit. They have a chance now to put this all together after sort of finding their identity, grinding out these ugly wins in the early part of the season to really make a statement here as they make their playoff push. So again, Keystone, the 5th seed over number 12 Huron, 20-7. In Division 5, it was number 2 Elyria Catholic all over number 15 Marion Pleasant with a final score of 49-7. Again, what more can be said about that performance? Just well-rounded. Obviously, the defense playing well, holding Marion Pleasant to just 1 score, and the offense with all of those weapons on the ground. And quarterback Brady Cook has plenty of options to throw the ball to, and obviously the Panthers putting it together after not having a postseason last year due to COVID-19. So mentioned it last week, but this is a team as hungry as any other team out there, as good of chance as any of our teams in Lorain County to really make some noise this postseason, and obviously proving that with their big first-round win. Finally, in Division 6, Region 21, our local matchup of the week, it was number 2 Columbia beating number 15 Wellington 33-6. Obviously, those teams having met earlier in the regular season, Columbia coming out victorious in that one as well. Andrew Champagne, a huge game for Columbia, which is always great to see. As Andrew suffered some injuries, over the course of his career. So to see him playing high-level football at this point in the season is great news for the Raiders as they continue. I know Coach Jason Ward has said, in order for his team and for the league itself to really gain that respect, take it to that next level in terms of, making a name for themselves in the state in terms of high school football. This is what needs to happen. We have to start winning playoff games, start showing people who we are, that the Lorain County League is just as good as any of these other leagues out there. And so Columbia starting that off with a big win over Wellington, 33-6. And finally, keeping it in the Lorain County League with our final local team making the playoffs, it was Black River, the 7th seed, beating number 10 East Canton 15-0. All right, with 5 teams continuing on in the high school football playoffs, we've got a lot more coming at you this week. Starting on Friday, it is number 2 Avon hosting number 7 Fremont Ross. Will be a great game, and of course, any chance Avon gets to host another game, especially a playoff game, that atmosphere is going to be unlike any other. So just another huge matchup here in Lorain County, followed by, I think, probably the biggest game of the week. Number 5 Keystone traveling to number 4 Port Clinton. This is not an easy one for Keystone, of course, being the lower seed, but they found ways to win all season, and they certainly can this week against Port Clinton. They got to keep that energy going, obviously, believing they can win no matter what cost. So a big game coming up for the Wildcats. And then on Saturday, we have number 2 Elyria Catholic hosting number 10 Genoa, followed by number 7 Black River taking on number 2 Columbia. Another big Lorain County League playoff matchup coming up. I think Columbia would maybe prefer to play some of these teams they haven't seen yet this season, but the Raiders winning that regular season matchup as well. So a lot coming at you. You can hear all of those games on WEOL this week. And on Friday, our Medina County matchup, it's a rematch. We have Buckeye traveling to Rocky River for a rematch of the Great Lakes Conference Championship, in which Rocky River came out victorious in that one, with Buckeye finishing in second place. So be sure to tune in to WEOL. Go to WEOL.com. Go and get yourself that mobile app. Go to ChronicleT.com. There is a lot of football left to be played, and as long as we're playing football, we've got you covered. So make sure you're tuning in. And with that, this is my last week here on the Blitz. We'll have a special guest host for you this week. Not sure who it is, so you're going to want to tune in and see who will be bringing you all of your playoff coverage next week. Thank you so much for hanging with me all football season. I've had a great time. Make sure you tune in next week to the Blitz, and until then, we will see you next season.